Welcome back, everyone, to Pod of Thrones. I'm Jeff.
I'm Jennifer.
So we missed a week. Oops. This is going to be a super episode.
Super.
We've got 2 Westworlds to talk about, so we're not going to fuck around here. We're going to get right into things, but we do have, I guess we're going to fuck around a little bit. A few announcements in the world of news and things. First of all, I said last week that I had just done a guest spot on another podcast, but that podcast wasn't posted yet, so I was going to wait to announce it until it was posted, and then we didn't record last week. So the podcast to look up, if you're interested, is called Bi-Coastal Biatches. Not bitches. Biatches. Biotches.
Wow.
Bi-Coastal. Bi-Coastal Biatches. Bridget and Aaron. They're online buddies. They invited me on. I listened to their show anyway, and I called them, a couple times with some feedback, like voicemail that they have. And they invited me to come on. So we were just shooting the shit about a lot of different stuff, but some of it was, pop culture related, since that's kind of what I do. Lots of different topics. It is now 2 episodes back. If you were to look it up right now, I'm 2 episodes back. They also had an episode, the one after me, with former Pod of Thrones guest, Eddie Pence. He was on their last episode. We had him on a while back to talk about WandaVision. He helped guide us through some of the Marvel stuff. And he was just
a Marvel
on their
master.
Episode. He is a nerdy delight.
Mm-hmm. Super nerd.
He's on their show just talking about all sorts of other random stuff.
I wonder if he watches Westworld.
I don't think so. He's never mentioned it. I know that he skipped Game of Thrones.
Oh.
I know. Well, he's a comic book guy. He's into, I think he's watched The Boys, or if not, he's been admonished for not doing it, but he likes the superhero stuff mostly. And there is enough of that to fill one's schedule. Sure. Like, we haven't even come close to touching on all of it now. And I thought I'd be able to keep up on the Marvel shows, but I can't. There's too many of them, and there's too many other things to watch. It's just fucking too much content. Did you just spill something?
Nope.
Okay, good. Next, I did want to give a shout out to a Twitter account that you should follow if you are interested in this particular topic. We have talked before about the Fallout TV show that's in the works, and it's made, again, to reiterate, by the same people that made Westworld. Jonathan Nolan and Lisa Joy. Right?
Were you going to say Lisa Girl?
No, I knew her name.
Okay.
I always, even though his brother is Christopher Nolan, one of the biggest directors and did all the Batman movies and lots of other things that you've heard of, I always forget his last name. But those two, the people that made Westworld, are also making the Fallout TV show, so it's probably going to be pretty fun. But there's an account, Hunter World V2. It's all one word, no underscores or anything. Hunter World V as in Victor 2, the number 2. That guy made a friend online with someone that works on the Fallout set and has been getting the occasional influx of pictures from the Fallout set. So it's a fine Twitter account for whatever, but his pinned tweet, and if you go back a week and a half or so, he's got a bunch of pictures coming off the Fallout set with some just fun looking stuff, mostly sets and scenery. There's a picture somewhere of like a suit of power armor and some other like machinery and tech looking things. There's a picture here. I'll show you this one, babe. It kind of looks like the inside of a vault, from the outside of the set. So he's getting some fun pictures, and that is cool. So if you are, if you're excited about the Fallout TV show like we are, you're going to want to look that up. Also from, let's see. One Game of Thrones headline, but it's a really long article, so I'll maybe put up a link to it. House of the Dragon showrunners say George R. Martin requested 3 details from his books be included in the series.
What are they?
Well, let's see. He wanted the dragons to be more colorful. Are
they unicorn-looking dragons now?
Yes, they're sparkly and fantastic, and there's a dog biting my arm.
Do they have sparkles when they fly?
I hope so.
Like in Elden Ring?
I hope so.
Can you jump?
So the showrunner said that there were colorful dragons, an emphasis on bright heraldry. And they wanted,
What does that mean?
I think, like the banners and vestments and things.
Okay, so just
Flags.
in general, more color.
Yeah,
Less
I
gray.
guess so. Brighter colors.
Yeah.
Let's see. And also the inclusion of King Jaehaerys Targaryen II. Martin had taken note when Game of Thrones showrunners left Jaehaerys II out of the listed line of rulers when it came to historical Targaryen kings in the fictional universe. The quote from Miguel Sapochnik said, David and Dan had skipped over Jaehaerys for reasons of clarity that I didn't really understand. That George R. R. Martin didn't really understand. He had a bee in his bonnet about it. He wanted us to write that wrong. So we'll learn more about that guy. Let's see. Daenerys' dragons had distinct coloring. Drogon had black and red scales. Viserion was cream and gold. Rhaegal was green and bronze. But Martin thought that as the dragons got bigger, their coloring started to kind of fade, and they all started to kind of look the same. So he's looking for more color.
Okay.
That might be true. I had a hard time telling them apart at the end.
I remember when they were babies, they were sitting on her shoulders and they were looking
very distinct. Yeah. It's probably true.
Well, yeah, that's what happens when you get older.
You lose your color.
You lose your color. You lose your brightness.
Hair. Yeah, but they were they were still like teenagers, in dragon or less than that.
Everybody's hair changes when they grow up.
And the heraldry too, lots of symbolic color related to the major and minor houses of Westeros. So we should just see a more colorful show.
Gotcha. So it's easier to tell who people are. As far as I can tell,
that was just two things. I guess there were two things about color: more colorful dragons, more colorful heraldry, everything else. And then,
the guy.
Of course, Jaehaerys Targaryen II. So there you go. That's my Game of Thrones headline for the week.
Thanks, George, for that input.
And then I have one mailbag related to Westworld specifically, so I was saving that one for last. We heard from Arthur, one of our longest running and most faithful listeners. We love him. He sent me a note, said, just catching up on your latest episode regarding your thoughts about Maya. So that's Dolores' roommate. He says,
yes, what happened to Maya?
And this, I was afraid that since we skipped an episode, it would be too late to talk about this because surely we would know by now, but she didn't show up in this last episode either. So, regarding your thoughts about Maya, I'm 99.99% sure she is human. I don't remember who tells that the only ones who could handle the parasites were the kids. Charlotte might have said something about that. Like when the flies get in the black oil, right? It killed adults flat out or had a much worse reactions. Like they couldn't tolerate it for long, but if it went to kids. So that's why Caleb's been dead for 23 years. Cause like a generation of young people was coming up. Something like that.
Okay. Wait. So he's sure that Maya's human, but Maya knows something and humans don't know anything.
Well, that's an interesting question. Let's see what else he says here. I read this a while ago, so I kind of forgot. So he pointed out that Maya was a kid when the night of the body snatching flies happened. That's her nightmare. So she did have that nightmare about a picnic with her parents and flies invading it.
I thought.
And we know 23 years have passed.
Okay.
So
I didn't put that together.
It's very possible.
I thought she was just having this nightmare because it's recently happened.
Well, I think when that was revealed, we still weren't necessarily sure of the timelines anyway. So
I didn't recall her talking about her parents, but I'm sure she did.
She mentioned she talked about a bad dream. She has bad dreams every night, I guess.
Right. Well, yeah, I remember the bad dream, but I didn't remember her saying that her.
Yeah, they took
they killed everybody.
Yeah. Except her. He says, on the other hand, I believe that the transition is a process where infected humans are selected to become a host, and they are trying that procedure with Caleb. He actually died in the past, but they've been trying to make him a host through all the iterations, just like they did with James Delos. Why? Because Charlotte is a psycho bitch. But also because he is/was the father of of this world's version of he said Jane Connor, but that's not right, is it? From Terminator? It's not Jane.
No, it's not Jane. Maeve.
What?
Who are you talking about?
From the Terminator movies.
Yeah. Well, isn't it Jane?
I don't think it may. I mean, maybe it is. I don't know.
You're thinking John is the son, and
right.
I'm not sure if Jane. Yeah, I don't know. Carol?
Oh, no, he's saying Jane Connor like John Connor because Frankie is the girl that will lead the rebellion against the machines just like John Connor did. Okay, I get it. So it's just a role flip Terminator thing. So there we go. Yes. And Charlotte is definitely a psycho bitch. So let's talk about that. And we still don't have the answers on Maya, or maybe, we could speculate about Maya more.
I mean, she just didn't return. Now she's got to be dead because...
Well, the shit that happens in episode 7.
Let's talk. Hurry up.
Let's talk about episode 6, Fidelity. Westworld season 4, episode 6, Fidelity.
Right.
Let's see. We had a flashback again where we had young Frankie meeting a guy in the city who looks all confused and sad, and she takes him to a place her brother used to play, or his brother used to play. They meet Uwade. So we see her again, and some other rebel. And it turns out that the guy that they've just picked up is one of the first outliers, I guess. But then the world stops. Everyone kind of freezes, like, oh, God, what's going on here? Because the rebels know that it's some kind of trap. Mm-hmm. And the white robots show up.
They know.
Start checking things out. But they figure out Nameless Rebel, the guy we didn't get to know or get attached to. They figure out that he's
because he had a fly. Didn't he have a fly that landed
like a fly landed on his face? And I don't know.
And he blinked.
I think it was just that simple.
So
the rest of them have to make
because it was like walking away. I remember this. It was walking away and he blinked and it must have like...
Yeah, but it had its back turned to him.
Yeah, so it hurt him. Well, he doesn't have eyes. That thing doesn't have eyes anyway.
True.
So it's like detecting, you could hear the heart beating and stuff. He was like, as he stood by him, you could hear the guy's heart beating.
That is the future of Tesla cars. They don't have eyes, but they can see everything around them.
So it just will detect your like heartbeat when you get in.
Probably. That's going to happen eventually. Can tell if you're in medical distress and call an ambulance for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's coming.
Sure.
So everyone has to run. They make it to a safe house outside the city. And of course, we find out that the young guy that they met was Jay, sort of who seemed to be like the head of the rebels later on. And this must be 23 years ago because Frankie's young. This is young Jay and so on and so on. So we see her getting on the radio to try to talk to her dad. And Jay's kind of a dick right from the get-go. He says, your dad is gone. These messages are pointless and you suck. Maybe he didn't say that part, but still.
Pretty much.
Then we get right to adult Frankie. C, as she's known, driving with Bernard and the Maeve Corpse. They go to, it seemed like they were pulling up to Westworld, but no, it's Temperance. It's the 23 years since demolished or abandoned version of Westworld.
Ghost town.
Yep, it's a ghost town now. Bernard, of course, knows his way around. He's like, this is an exact copy of freaking Westworld, so let's go find a lab. So... he pulls a new control unit out of a body that was handily abandoned on the floor. And then he said something so crazy. It was like 60% of the time, waking Maeve up is okay. And I just wrote down 60% of the time, waking Maeve up works every time because it just reminded me of Anchorman. But it was like, she may go crazy and kill us or she may not. But he starts transferring the data from Maeve's old core to this new one, and he hides it because he knows Frankie's friends are coming, and obviously something bad is about to happen. So, he's fixing up the Maeve body while the cores are transferred, and Frankie starts talking about how she was taking care of Uwade when Uwade got sick. So that's why we haven't seen Uwade in any kind of modern timeline.
She had the black goop.
Or cancer.
That's black goop.
But Frankie wants to know what happened to Caleb. And she doesn't really care much about Maeve, but if Maeve can get the answers, then good. So Jay and the team return with Ashley and the outlier that we met in the last episode. And they go see Maeve. Jay's not impressed. Frankie immediately shoots Bernard as a possible spy. So I don't know why that happened all of a sudden. I guess because Jay didn't think that it was a viable weapon, maybe. Like, I don't know. It was kind of weird. It sort of implied that maybe they didn't know that Bernard was a host all this time. But how could they not have? Because Bernard is way too weird.
Yeah.
You know, I thought that they had understood each other. Maybe it was just a show for Jay. I don't know. But Bernard and Ashley are taken away. No one's allowed to touch Maeve's control unit until Frankie gets answers about Caleb, but it's also hidden, so that's okay. Bernard and Ashley are tied up, but Bernard lets Frankie know that one of her friends isn't who they seem to be, and he doesn't know which one. Because in the different timelines that he has somehow studied the future.
This is so stupid.
I hope we get an answer about that.
It's like they watched Loki. And then they're like, let's do that.
Multiverse?
Yeah.
Let's make a multiverse. Yeah. But each time it's been someone different that betrays her. So it could be any of her friends that is not really her friend. It's a replicant, basically, right?
Right.
Body snatcher shit. Okay, so she's going to have to kill one of them, but she got to figure out who it is. Jay is buttering her up, saying that she's the only one he can trust. And then Frankie sort of turns on her girlfriend, whose name I think is Odina, and locks her up. She's not sure, but she's like, I got to lock you up to be safe.
Well, she said for your safety.
Yes. But also Frankie wasn't quite sure because Odina was like asking for information about the brain transfer and stuff. So that made her kind of suspicious.
I'm sure she's a bad person.
Odina?
Yeah.
Oh God, I hope not. That's all Frankie's got now.
She ain't got nothing. No, well.
Because it turns out, basically, long story short, that it was Jay that was the imposter. He was trying to get information out of her, especially where's that core. The slip up was when Jay was like, you're like a sister to me. I just want to help you. But she knows that shit's not true. Yeah,
because she's like, he was always an asshole.
Right. So we get a little flashback. Yeah, sure enough, Jay's dead, was killed by himself. And Frankie really can't take him on so well. They get a big fight, but it's Maeve that somehow wakes up despite not having a core in her head. I don't know how that works either.
No, well, I think... Okay, well, let's just not go there.
She wakes up, excuse me, she wakes up, makes the kill, and gets to meet Frankie. Who is now, I mean, she knew young Frankie, so one of those little surprises for Maeve. Yeah. And Frankie's kind of bitter, and she said, I thought I was helping Caleb. I didn't know it would lead to all this. But Maeve wants to finish what they started. So then most of the rest of the episode is all about Caleb going through a series of Die Hard style traps and precarious positions. But it's like, and we can sum a lot of this up pretty quickly, I think, because Caleb winds up having a conversation with himself. There's like a room full of Calebs.
Yeah.
And each one's in its own glass cage.
This was pretty weird too.
In various stages of decay. Mm-hmm. So like he's a host with a human brain transfer.
Right. That's going to decay because
it's like rejecting its body or something. Or the body's rejecting the brain.
Why?
I guess it's like the James Delos thing, right? Like he could only survive for a couple
Fidelity.
Weeks. It's the Fidelity thing, yeah. Like your human brain can't quite process being in a robot body. Mm-hmm. But like, they did it to William.
But he went crazy sometimes.
Well, I mean,
look at him now.
Well, no, but this most recent William, like for seasons 2 and 3, we felt like 80% sure that William that we were seeing be a total asshole in the show was actually a robot. And he like blew his own hand off once and like seemed okay. Because he thought he was, right? But he was just angry, I guess.
Yeah, but he was the real William.
He was the real, well, that's what it turned out. So now the William in this series has been William for 23 years and hasn't fucked up. So they found a way to perfect the process, but they're not doing that to Caleb.
Well,
he's not.
Something's wrong with this William.
Yeah, but he's not dying in 2 weeks because his body's decaying.
Right. That's true.
Not having like synapses.
Maybe she, I mean, could it be that, I don't know.
I think she's
I'm not
doing
going to
it on
speculate.
purpose.
Right. That's what I was going to say. Maybe it's something she's doing on purpose.
I think
she only lets him live 2 weeks or whatever.
She wants the information. She also wants to see him suffer.
She's such a bitch.
As Arthur said. Yeah. Psycho bitch. So it was really hard to tell what was happening, but like one Caleb starts to give him clues, really video game style about like, tapping on the glass and it leads you to an hourglass and the hourglass leads you through a trapdoor and that takes you
just
to
write a
door.
Fucking note. God.
But ultimately, so like Caleb goes through all this shit in, spending time in the air vents, taking out one of the white bots. We see another Caleb being printed. But whatever. He gets
a harrowing escape.
I mean, I don't think there was anything super huge in any of that, except ultimately he gets out.
And immediately gets stopped.
There was an interesting scene in the middle of all of this that I thought was going to pay off. Maybe it still will next episode, but I'm not really sure how anymore. It was Charlotte having a conversation with Clementine about Caleb being on the run. And it was like, well, is it a trap or is it not a trap? And it was, but in any case. But Charlotte's still trying to figure out that whole psychosis thing where bots are killing themselves. And she says, hey, you spend your days in the city and you're okay. But Clementine says she doesn't get close to the outliers. She prefers the sheep. But Charlotte seems kind of suspicious of Clementine. And Clementine's got a look on her face like maybe she's not
right
what she seems to be. Maybe there's a little bit of real Clementine left in there that doesn't like these people. But we didn't, we still don't know. Maybe we never will.
She sure does look sophisticated. Beautiful.
Yep. She's got it together physically, but I think inside there's something else happening. So finally, Caleb goes through all these things. He's basically on the verge of death, but makes it out of the maze of traps into a rooftop and then records and broadcasts a message to Cookie, his daughter. I guess that's why she's called C, because C is for Cookie.
Oh, C is for Cookie.
I jotted down the whole message, but I don't think we need to read it all. But,
no, it's basically, I'm alive.
I'm alive. The world you're in is a lie. And I mean,
keep fighting.
Keep fighting. And I'm sorry I failed you, but you can do this. You're my warrior. I love you. And Charlotte's right there. It was all a trap/test. She let this happen. Eventually Caleb was find his way out, and it was all to find out what he knew. She was just spying on him, but she was not impressed.
And he doesn't know anything.
He doesn't. He knows one thing, which is theoretically he knows how he resisted the flies. He said, you never take me because I've got, and then he never finished the sentence.
I thought it was Maeve.
She wants maybe it's love, but he would never give her the answer.
Love will conquer the black goo.
It could. Yep. But he goes on to tell her, we didn't infect your hosts. Your hosts would rather die than live in your world. They're not infected. They're just trying to get away from you. And then he dies. And Charlotte. That's right.
Hale. Let's
Charlotte
call her
Hale.
Hale.
Yes. Okay. Her arm is bleeding like crazy at that point, too.
Yeah.
Is she picking at it again? Or is she burst a blood vessel with her stress? I don't know. Can robots get stressed?
I guess stressed.
She seems stressed. Yeah. And then they're like making more Calebs, and that's how that episode ended. It was easy to summarize because we don't have to talk about every trap that Caleb went through. What did you think of the episode?
It was frustrating.
Which part? The many Calebs?
Yeah, and trying to figure out what the frick is going on all the time. But yeah, I mean, what did I think of it? I don't know. It wasn't the best episode.
It was a bridge.
Yes.
It didn't really reveal.
Episode.
It didn't really reveal anything new except. No. I guess
Maeve is back. She's alive.
Yeah, it brings Maeve back. It shows us that there's really no hope for Caleb, basically. And I don't know. We learned that C is for Cookie. It gets rid of J, I suppose. Okay, so let's talk about the next episode then, because that was the big one. A lot of stuff happened. And first we got to talk about the title. Westworld Season 4, Episode 7, Metanoia. Any ideas what that could possibly mean?
Mm-hmm.
What? Take a guess.
Fear of data.
That would make sense. But that is not even close. According to Merriam-Webster.com, it is a transformative change of heart, especially a spiritual conversion. Kind of weird, right?
Really?
Yeah, metanoia. But this episode does have changes of heart. It's just Nolan and Joy wanting us to do homework. And find out what stuff means.
Yeah, what'd they do? Like, look at the thesaurus?
Like a bunch of nerds.
Well, that would, I don't know. I mean, a nerd truly would know the word. What is it?
Metanoia.
Metanoia.
I've never heard that word in my life, and I'm a big nerd.
Mm-hmm.
And I like words. Okay, so this episode's a little weirder. The whole opening is almost like a Groundhog Day thing. We've got Bernard and Maeve approaching the dam, which we saw in episode 1. We know it's a data center. but Maeve didn't. Bernard gives Maeve a grenade launcher. We know that Charlotte Hale owns all of this. It's not just a power plant, which is what people thought. Like, it was just powering the parks or whatever. Yes?
I thought that this was going to have something to do with William buying. Didn't he buy that damn land? That damn land from, or not buy,
in episode 1.
Took?
Yeah.
I thought that this was like going to be on his land.
Well, it's his land now. It's Charlotte's land now. He bought it on Charlotte's behalf.
Oh, he did. Okay. So this is that place.
This is that same dam.
Okay.
Yes, with the data center inside.
Okay.
But and we need so much explaining in one more. We got one episode to get all this figured out. Dolores chose this dam to hide the Sublime. That's part of the data center, which I guess that's not a big reveal, but why isn't Charlotte doing anything with it? I guess she wants to get in. She couldn't
get in, yeah.
She can't get in without the key. The key's in Bernard's head, so he opens the door. Why? I don't know.
He opens the door to see what would happen?
I don't know. He opens the door and it sets off an alarm.
And then the dam starts flooding or something, doesn't it? Or no, people come.
No, it didn't start flooding. Maeve and Bernard have a conversation. And this conversation was weird too, because Maeve theorizes and Bernard
offers her a glass of sherry.
Yes, he offers her a drink. But Bernard confirms Maeve's theory that this isn't even really Maeve. It's just a copy of Maeve that Bernard made, and the real Maeve is in the Sublime.
Mm-hmm.
And he's also in the Sublime. So they're all in the Sublime.
They're just in the waiting room of the Sublime. They're in the holodeck.
Could the Sublime be the city that Dolores and Teddy are in right now? And they're using the Sublime to control the real people? But then Charlotte can't get into the Sublime, so no, that doesn't work.
No, I think that Dolores is either in the Sublime. Dolores and Teddy are either in the Sublime or somewhere else controlling those people.
But how could
in the real city? But they're not there. They're just moving.
Also copies.
They're
they could be copies
looking.
Too.
They think they're there, or at least she thought she was there.
Yeah,
but
that was also
real.
Very confusing.
But her roommate talks to her. She's not.
Let's come back to that. Humans and robots are nearing extinction, blah, blah, blah. He says he can upload real Maeve and her daughter into the Sublime together or something, and Maeve really wants that, and then the mech crashes in. But then none of that was real. Bernard is back talking to Akichita in the Sublime, like from episode 1 or 2, whatever, 2. And just he's seeing how the story ends. We get that whole thing again. And then we're back in the exact same scene, but this time Bernard has a pistol, and he hides it on the way into the dam.
Right.
And this time Maeve kills a mech when it bursts through the wall. And she says she wants to win the war and then go home to her daughter. And they leave the dam with the Sublime door left open.
Interesting.
Which I assume only robots can see. Only hosts can see the door. Because I think that's how it was in season 2.
There's not really a door.
Well, it's like a digital door.
How do they get out? What are they going to do? Go through the...
Well, I don't think they can get out because in season 2
they can't get out. They're not real.
They walked through the door and their bodies dropped. But then, I think it was William or some human. I'm not sure what humans were around them, but they were watching the host just drop because they couldn't see the door. But the hosts were entering the door, and then immediately their brains were transferred into the Sublime, and their bodies left behind.
How did that happen?
Which part?
Okay, never mind. I'm not going to. I'm just picturing how their marbles got all their data into the Sublime.
The Sublime has a really fast processor and really good Wi-Fi.
Okay. Interesting that they left the door open.
Mm-hmm.
And
that is interesting.
Dolores went around opening all the doors.
Okay.
Just saying.
Sure. Keep theorizing. We're going to come to that soon. Maybe you're onto something there. Okay. Normally we talk about like plot line by plot line, but they all converge in this episode. So we're going to do each plot line just a little bit and then we'll come back around. So let's talk about Christina / Dolores first. She wakes up from a bad dream. Teddy's there. He's just sitting in her apartment. She doesn't freak out though this time.
Yeah, kind of like, I'd be like, what the fuck? Get out of my room.
He says he's there to tell her the truth. He calls her Dolores, sort of explains the very basics of, I guess, being a host. And who she used to be. And this all upsets her, so she goes to the bathroom, runs a bath.
take a bath while Teddy's sitting out there?
Well, she wasn't actually taking a bath.
She wasn't?
She was trying to kill herself.
Oh. Yes, I know that, but okay. I mean, just ask him to leave.
Oh, he wouldn't leave.
He's so cute.
He'd sit outside her door like a puppy.
He has the kindest eyes.
So she tries to drown herself, and she does kind of die, but then not really. So she gets up and out.
Right. She comes to some kind of realization. Mm-hmm. What do you think that was?
I guess I'm a robot or a god.
She seemed to be like, something clicked.
And I guess I'm Dolores.
I thought maybe like Dolores had come back to her or something at that time, and she remembered everything, but no, I don't think so.
She's still close, but not quite there, because they talk about Dolores more as they're walking around town. And she starts, then she starts to freak out. Like Dolores is dead, but now Christina's here in this world and something's not quite right. And she starts to panic, but they're going to get through this by going back to where it all started, the Olympiad building.
Right.
Meanwhile, in the Olympiad building, we see a little bit of Caleb. Charlotte comes down to have a civil conversation with him for once. She talks about cold storage. Oh, bless you.
Sorry.
Cold storage, the place where you got to see all those wieners in season 1.
There were not enough wieners.
Never are for you.
Never.
But now she tells Caleb that it's Frankie's turn to be part of cold storage because she's going to take down the city tonight and everyone's going into cold storage and the rebels will be there just in time. And he's the bait. Isn't that nice?
Right.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
William is there for this conversation, doesn't say anything, I don't think, but seems troubled by the notion.
Right, he's listening at the door or whatever.
That the world's going to go away.
And she's like, get your kicks while you can.
Smoke them if you got them.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, over in the rebel camp, Frankie and Ashley are checking their bevy of guns. They're going to go get Caleb. We see the girlfriend again, whose name I have already forgotten because she's just that forgettable. But Frankie's
That's
like,
mean.
I'm sorry I locked you up.
Olympiad.
You're the one that just called. No, it's not Olympiad. it does start with an O.
Odessa.
Closer.
Odette.
Nope. It was.
Odina.
Oh, that might be it. I think that's it.
Let's call it that.
Okay. Sorry for locking you up, girlfriend. And they hug and everything's okay.
Mm-hmm. She's totally a traitor.
Bernard and someone arrive. I don't know. But they're all together now. And they're going to break into the Olympiad building while Bernard and Maeve, that's who show up, will be on Charlotte duty. They're going to go over to the tower. Mm-hmm. Bernard, as they get into the city, seems very morose. And Ashley figures out one of them is not coming back from this mission. And
right.
Bernard says, doesn't say it, but basically implies that it's Ashley. Mm-hmm. And Ashley's like, well, fuck it. Been waiting 23 years for this.
Yeah. Kind of a bummer.
Yep. And then we see Ashley and Frankie are preparing to storm the Olympiad building, but it starts evacuating, so they walk in. Meanwhile, over in the tower, Charlotte is sending an encrypted message to all of the robots in the city. This is the final day for hosts to visit the humans. It is time for us to leave behind our human bodies. Time to evolve.
I still don't understand what's happening. Why? Why are they there? Like they're just trying to learn how to be humans? Is this like their training? This is just like the training that they had to do in Westworld when they were dancing in the street and stuff. And
Charlotte did that to the humans.
What's her name? Came and killed everybody. Yeah, it's the
Wyatt.
same scene. Wyatt.
Maybe. They have not given us really any clue what this transcendence process is all about.
I hope they do. I hope they don't just like assume we know what they're doing because we don't.
We definitely don't. One episode. We've got one episode to find it all out. So she sends that message, and meanwhile, William goes to see William and wakes William up. And his big thing is, she wants to take my world away.
He's like a pussy.
And well, that's what real William says. He's like, she cut off your balls. So he just has to be a dick. You forgot what your real purpose is. We're not here to transcend. We're here to destroy. So that goes back to the root of William, right? Like,
I don't understand what the fuck is wrong with William. He's like a psychopath.
He is definitely a psychopath.
Okay.
And maybe,
as long as that's clear,
maybe things would have turned out differently if Dolores could have loved him back in the early days.
She did love him.
Well, she did, but then she got erased.
Yeah, not her fault.
Not her fault, but that sent him over the edge.
Stupid Will. He's a man.
There are a lot of people in this world who have psychopathy, but are not killers. They are thrill seekers. They maybe don't have the strongest of consciences or have a harder time discerning right from wrong, but they're not necessarily evil. They can still lead normal lives. It's just a little different. So maybe William would have been that, but instead he got broken and sent off to the path of, we're here to destroy the fucking world, which is what William says he would do. He would pull the plug on the whole world if he could, but he can't.
Well, I mean, they're basically doing that right now.
Well, that's well, he says, so you're me and I'm stuck in this stupid cage and one of us needs to do what must be done.
And why does he care about, like, the people?
William?
Yeah.
Wait, which William?
Pussy William.
Robot William? Well, it's kind of seemed like he maybe was caring.
Right. And then he turned into a total monster. Like, he had a little piece of the caring side left.
At least he was enjoying the world and he doesn't want to go away.
It seemed to be.
I mean, he feels like a human. So he just doesn't want to transcend because that appears to be giving up your humanity. I guess.
Okay.
I don't know.
And we now know what transcension is, I guess.
I guess you lose your body at least.
Yeah. And you get, I don't know what they do with it.
I thought that the final part of this scene between William and William felt a little bit like Kylo Ren and Han Solo in whatever the hell that movie was called.
Star Wars.
Force Awakens. Because Kylo Ren was confronting Han Solo, his dad.
On the bridge?
And it was inside Starkiller Base or somewhere nearby. And Han just wanted to like talk to his boy. And there was a lot of speculation about what the scene really meant. And it kind of felt right. Like what I didn't catch it at the time of viewing it, but Kylo was like, I don't know if I have the strength to do what needs to be done. And Han's like, yeah, you can. And then Kylo stabs him in the gut. Mm-hmm. And there's been speculation that Han knew that he was going to have to die to eventually turn his son on the right path. But first he was going to have to die for it. So that was what needed to be done, was Kylo was trying to commit himself to the dark side by killing his dad. And Han was ready for that. And it kind of felt like that in this same scene. Like William was like, you're just going to have to kill me, bro, and just be me from now on and destroy the world like we were meant to do.
Mm-hmm. And he had a nice little smile.
Yeah. He was relieved to be dying finally. He's been frozen for probably like 30 years, right? There was at least a 7-year war, maybe longer.
So was he a real guy?
That was real William.
Okay.
But frozen.
And Caleb was robot, never frozen, right?
Which Caleb?
OG Caleb.
No, OG Caleb was a real person.
No, I mean like the 23 years later.
Yes, that is a robot body.
Okay, but he wasn't frozen.
Robo-organic something. Yeah. Okay, so then that's like all the basics of the storylines, and then we come back around again as they converge at the end. Christina, Dolores, and Teddy, all three of them, they get into the Olympiad building. Christina does some awesome stuff with Jedi mind tricks. I really enjoyed it. Like, the security guards can go home now. And they're just like, okay. Yeah, and they just start walking off. It was
time for a vacation.
She makes all the writers start deleting their stories and then destroying the building and it's also like fire alarms evacuating.
Okay, pause.
Yes.
When you delete somebody's life, what happens?
That is an excellent question.
All of a sudden your life is deleted. Maybe
it frees you from the black goop because you don't have a pattern to follow anymore, a loop. But then you must be very confused. I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Dolores and Teddy walk right by Caleb.
Maybe they just remember their old life.
Well, maybe. Hopefully. Except it's going to happen at the end, so it might not matter. Dolores and Teddy walk by Caleb's cage, and Caleb never sees them, but Teddy calls Caleb a ghost of a past life. That's kind of hurtful.
Mm-hmm.
Although it's not really him, so I guess. They get to another security place, and she makes all the doors in the whole building unlock, including Caleb's cell. And you had some thoughts. Maybe that's somehow related to the opening of...
Yes.
The
opening of the
Shire, not the Shire. The Sublime.
Sublime.
Could be.
Could be.
Those things could have been happening at the same time for all we know, the way this show does shit. Ashley and Frankie also get into the Olympiad building because Dolores started it evacuating. And they get up to William's room, which is conveniently unlocked because of Dolores. Ash is like, we got to help this old dude. And Frankie wants to help him. And Ash is like, fuck that guy. He's the reason we're all here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then they get to a fork. Ashley takes Bernard's advice to go left at the fork. Right would have apparently led them to Dolores and Teddy, because Dolores and Teddy had just passed by in that same scene.
Yeah. Why?
I don't know. But they get to one of those Delos style Fidelity apartments like James Delos used to live in, and Caleb's there because he had just got out of his cell. Maybe that's why. That's what it was all about. Like, yes. Bernard knew that Caleb was going to go that way, so we better send Frankie there. Caleb like kicks Ashley's ass and then grabs Frankie, and then there's a tearful scene. They figure out that it's really Frankie, and C is for Cookie. And Frankie does not understand how he hasn't aged today. So there's going to be some splaining to do there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Meanwhile, while all that's happening over at the tower, Bernard and Maeve start making their way in. They take out the mechs, this time via hacking instead of grenade launcher. They mercilessly slaughter one of those white guards. That was brutal. I almost felt bad for him. Like, they got him under the chin and bashed his brains in. And,
mercy. Like, you die immediately.
I suppose.
Although you probably don't, because you don't have a brain. And marbles are hard.
I don't. Maybe. You would think that they would take a robot like that and I mean, it's not like you gave it personality. You didn't even give it a mouth. Mm-hmm. Why give it blood and sort of the sensors that would make it die if you stabbed it in the chest instead of its brain marble?
Well, I mean, why change the system? They're just
It was working so far. Yeah, I guess. Okay, so Bernard says he needs a diversion while he climbs the tower. Maeve says she's looking forward to winning and getting back to her daughter, and that's where Bernard fesses up and says that they can't win.
I don't understand.
He always knew that
He's
they can't win.
I hate him so much. I hate you, Bernard.
Why?
Because he's so stupid. How? Why even bother?
He's got one chance to save, and this is his quote, a tiny part, unquote, of the world.
Do we know what that is?
No. We have no idea what that is, but the only way that they're going to be able to save that one tiny part is if he gets help from all these people. And if he tells all these people, we're definitely going to lose, maybe they won't help.
Well, maybe they will if you tell them what that tiny part is. It's so important to you.
That might be a fair point.
He's like, my apartment.
If my apartment survives, everything's going to be fine.
Because it's cool.
I've got a record collection that won't quit. And also at the tower, Charlotte has started her people transcending, at least the ones that showed up. Mm-hmm. And she looks kind of sad and starts getting ready for her own transcendence.
She looks kind of happy.
You thought she looked happy during that?
Well, I think she looked sad, but yet, happy at the same time. Like, she was sad to watch that person. I don't know. It was a weird feeling. Like, I agree that it felt sad, but then at the end, it kind of felt happy. Like, I don't know, resonant. Can you,
for our audience, describe your understanding now of the transcendence procedure? What do you got?
Okay, so here's what I thought.
Okay.
I no longer think this. Transcendence, to me, I thought was taking the marble out of the human body and sticking it in that weird tall thing, and then that's what they were going to be, the weird tall thing.
Weird tall thing with, like, those bouncy legs.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I thought that, okay, now they're going to be this. I have no idea. What are they doing? Like, they're not going to the Sublime. She made her own Sublime.
Maybe. It's probably a shitty version.
But why go through all of this if you're just going to go to the Sublime or whatever?
Because they were putting people on timers. Like that first girl we saw that wound up killing herself. She was like, I'm just a few days away from my transcendence. So you're making a bunch of host bodies and filling them with personalities. And then you're going to take their brains back out and put them in something else. But what is that something else?
Okay, wait. You're making host bodies, putting marbles in their head, and then sending them out into the human world to learn how to be human.
I guess, maybe.
But what personality are they born with?
Well, they're programmed.
But with what? With what Dolores is writing?
That's another good question. Who
are they programmed with, like the stuff from Westworld, the people's?
Well, as far as we know, most or all of that is still in a zip file. The Bernard has the key for it. So they'd have to be making these hosts from scratch, which means writing their personalities, which is a little bit weird.
And the humans know nothing about this.
Correct.
They don't know that they're living amongst.
Well, the robots walk amongst them anyway, so you would never know. And then on top of that, they got the black shit in their brains.
What for? So that they can take the marble and put it into that human body?
The tall thing with the funny legs?
Well, so is transcendence, they're taking the marbles from the host and putting them into a real human body? Maybe that's why they needed the humans?
Well, now that's an interesting theory. Okay, so a few options. One, Charlotte made her own version of the Sublime and it sucks. Two, they're actually going to try to become full-fledged biological humans.
Why, though?
Because
there's no reason for that.
They were programmed to be as close to humans as they could possibly be. So even though Charlotte hates the humans, it's still in her like robot DNA to strive for humanity. That's an option. And then the third option, which would be my favorite because it would make for a really fun season 5, is that those funny looking super tall bodies with springy legs are actually their new bodies. That's
what I thought.
Form.
Yeah.
It could be. Why not? We'll see an army of those things fighting later. Maybe it's like, we gave you this new springy, weird, tall body because it will make you not have human feelings anymore because you no longer look human. You're just a superior robot.
Well, your body's no longer like...
organic.
Right, organic. It's no longer squishy and fleshy.
Yeah. But
I don't know. This is crazy.
We've only got one episode left. It's infuriating.
And...
yeah?
Do we know if this is the fun... Like, is Westworld supposed to be back?
I don't know for sure it's been renewed, but I'm pretty sure they're not planning on ending the story here.
Okay.
I think there's at least one more season. Although they're going to kill a lot of characters here, so maybe not. So Charlotte's getting ready for her own transcendence. She's just about to have her brain split open, but then Maeve arrives and interrupts it, which fucking why? Why, Maeve?
Right. I don't know. Maybe the transcendence is something bad or dangerous.
Your job was to like distract Charlotte so Bernard could get through the line, and like you stop her from getting her brain cut out. It seems a little silly, but
she could have just waited until they cut her brain open and then like kicked the marble.
Yeah, kicked it right out of that big robot's hands.
Whatever.
Totally. So Maeve stops it from happening, and okay, so Charlotte's in their little back and forth. I wrote down this. Charlotte's big plan includes getting the Sublime residents to join Charlotte's own transcendence plan, whatever that is.
Mm-hmm.
We know she wants the Sublime for that reason, but we still don't know what.
Oh, it's just like upload.
Well, that's what the Sublime already is.
Yeah, it is.
Unless Charlotte's is a shittier version with microtransactions and fucking like corporate data plans.
Yeah.
This is all about money. Charlotte just wanted to be rich. Right. So they get into a big fight. They're going at it. Maeve has the upper hand. Then a white bot comes in, but it looks bad for Maeve, but she manages to take it down. And she's feeling good about herself. And then...
William.
What does William do, dear?
Shoots her right in the freaking head.
Back of the head.
Yeah.
Never saw it coming. She had no chance. He takes her down suddenly, shockingly. And then, what else does William do?
Shoots the hail.
In the front of the head.
In the front of the head.
Yeah. I wrote a sad face next to Maeve getting shot and a smiley face next to Charlotte getting shot, and now I don't know how to feel about William at all.
I know.
But he's really just a force of chaos.
He seems so.
Yeah.
He's got his black hat back on and his serious, like, I'm an asshole walk.
He didn't have it on yet for that scene.
Oh, he didn't?
But he will.
I remember walking out with him.
He will. But there's one more big scene. Well, one more big William scene first. So we got Bernard up in the control center of the tower. And again, don't really know what he's doing. He's like watching a recording of himself talking. Ugh. Maybe some sort of instructions. I don't know. But then William arrives.
It's like, now push the red button, and then in walks.
Push the button that says destroy the tower.
Yeah.
But the tower does get destroyed. So William walks in, plugs Bernie a couple times in the chest instead of the head because he wants to be cruel.
Right.
And William starts a new set of commands for the tower. I can't remember what he said. But
everybody kill each other, basically.
Yeah, something like that. I wrote down we're going for sort of a purge vibe, although I changed my mind on that later. But Bernard knew all along that he was going to die. We see his flashbacks one more time, him talking to Akichita, and he knew he had to die to save the world. And what he was looking out at this whole time was a city on fire.
But he's killed, all of these people can be brought back to life.
Well,
these
almost
robots.
all of them are robots, so yeah, they could be. Just Frankie, really. She's the only one with any hope.
Yeah.
Is she the only... Well, Frankie and her girlfriend, they're like the only
You're
humans...
my only hope.
Are they the only humans that matter at this point? As far as the characters in the show? Caleb's not human, really, so...
Nope.
And everyone else is a fucking robot. Okay, so Bernard knew he was going to die. We see him slowly die on the floor. I think William eventually shoots him.
Bernard.
Yep. Meanwhile... the commands that William sent start fucking up everything in the city. So, Ashley, Frankie, and one or two other people, maybe? I don't know. Oh, and Caleb, they're back in the city. That was the three of them. And that's when the purge starts. And then as I saw it happening, I realized it's not the purge, it's Kingsman. Remember Kingsman, the first Kingsman movie? There were the cell phones that would set off this loud tone that made everyone go berserk and kill each other. Mm-hmm. That's what this is. They took it from Kingsman.
Okay.
Totally took it from Kingsman. So they're running for their lives. Frankie takes a bullet in the leg, but Ashley, Caleb, and Frankie make it out. So Ashley was not doomed after all.
Yeah. Does he figure that out? I feel like he figures that out.
I think he had like sort of a little smile on his face when he finally got away.
But then
like a knowing
did
smile.
He realize
that might make him realize that Bernard is dead, but he's in the
he doesn't care, right? Bernard?
Does
Nobody
Ashley
cares
care
about
Bernard? I think Ashley cares about Bernard.
He should.
He watched over him for 23 years.
He shouldn't have.
But you just said Bernard got everybody killed. Ashley, not dead.
Right.
So there you go.
Well,
Frankie, Caleb. Well, Caleb would seem to not have any hope. But
I guess those three are the little part that he's saving.
Yeah. If Bernard hadn't done what he did, Charlotte still would have taken down the whole city because Bernard was not part of that plot line the whole time. So and then Frankie, the trap for Frankie would have worked and everybody would have died. So maybe Frankie is the last ray of hope for humanity. She will repopulate the earth by herself and her lesbian girlfriend. That's going to be a neat trick, but I think they can do it. Women can do anything men can do. I've heard that.
But better.
Mm-hmm. And then meanwhile, the purge starts by Christina and Teddy. Christina Dolores can't stop it. She's trying. And she wants answers. Mm-hmm. It seems like people can't see her. It seems like people can't hear her anymore.
And finally, Teddy's like, they can't see you, you idiot.
You're not even here.
Where are we?
She's not in this world. The people are real, but she is not.
Right.
Again, very confused because they were just in the Olympiad building where she could control everybody. They step outside and they're in the purge. And now they're not really there and they can't control anybody.
Hang on.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
I was just thinking maybe we would have to go back and see what time that coincides with, but maybe when Bernard was opening the doors,
Okay.
Dolores was trying to kill herself, and that's when she came out of the water when the doors opened.
Okay.
Because now she's like free to see. I don't know.
Well, there was
She's
that
free.
point. Remember, she couldn't see the city at that one point, but it was
Right.
across. It was like two pieces of a city across the bay from each other, and like the city Dolores was in was the place where like things were kind of, I don't know, real. That's where the programming happened. But then across the bay was where the people lived that were all the sheep.
Mm.
But if she's in the Olympiad building and then steps outside,
I don't know.
Fuck. Okay. And finally, did your microphone just fall down? What was that noise?
No, that was my glasses.
Oh, okay. And finally, as all this shit is going crazy, we think Frankie and Ashley are going to be all right, but Christina is not. William heads out into the wasteland with his black hat on and a pistol in his hand. And behind him, as he slowly walks away, the tower overloads and explodes. So, one episode left. We've got to. What are the things we need to know for the final episode? What's
Everything?
the homework?
What the fuck? That's what we need to know. The fuck.
What's the homework list here? William has some kind of fate coming up, but I presume he's going to survive this because that's what he does. He's the cockroach. He never dies, right?
Yes.
As William himself said.
Mm-hmm.
Christina Dolores needs to figure out who she really is.
Mm-hmm.
We need to know why the Sublime is open. We need to know what transcendence is.
Mm-hmm. We need to know what small part Bernard is saving.
Yeah, we need to know what's going to happen to Caleb, I guess, if Frankie gets away. But, what else is left? If this is just this city, then the rest of the world will be okay. But did Charlotte take over the whole world?
I don't know. I feel like she might have.
She did at one point say she was going to take the cities down.
True.
If you took down all the cities in the current world that we live in, there would still be a lot of people left. And not a whole lot of entertainment.
I felt like it was just a couple.
It's hard to say.
But,
maybe
yeah.
the cities meant the two things across the bay.
Mm-hmm.
But, don't they ever get, tourists?
Where'd everybody go?
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like it's all just a big training.
And maybe this is all, maybe it's all
the cities
happening.
are an island.
Okay, wait. Bernard put on his headgear, went into the Sublime where he talked to Akichita. In all of that, he sat there for 23 years looking at billions of possibilities for the future. But when he was done,
He still didn't know.
he knew something, but when he was done looking at the billions of options, he was talking to Akichita about how he was going to have to die to save the world, but he's looking out the window at a city on fire. So
That wasn't real, though. You can't see out the window in the Sublime.
But wait, but this is where I'm going with this. So maybe the entire city isn't real in the first place.
The city is the Sublime?
Maybe the city itself is part of the Sublime.
No. Because there's real people in
And
it.
Charlotte doesn't even have any idea what she's doing. She's trying to maybe Charlotte's transcending her way out of the Sublime. Fuck.
Charlotte's not in the Sublime.
Maybe she is and she doesn't know.
She was in the real world.
But what's the real world?
Well, it used to be
I'm just saying if Bernard...
when she had a son and a husband. But why? Why was she out in the real world having a son and husband?
She was playing the part of Charlotte Hale.
She thought
who
she
had
was.
a real husband and son, and then she fell in love with the husband and son and decided she was going to be human, but then they got burned up. So
you don't think Charlotte was ever real?
No, Charlotte was real. In season 1, Charlotte was a real person.
I remember that she
got killed and replicanted, and then she got her brain replaced.
Replicated?
With a Dolores brain. And then that one fell in love. Because Dolores is always a bit of a romantic.
Mm-hmm.
But when you kill your husband and your son, then your Wyatt comes out.
I don't really know what the fuck is going on.
I'm just saying, I feel like there's going to be some kind of indescribably complicated thing there involving Bernard was in the Sublime, but so was the city, and that's why he was looking out of a window in the Sublime at the city that was already on fire from the purge that just happened. There's something there. The fact that he was seeing it in front of him instead of just in his mind. That's going to wind up.
The whole thing is in his mind.
Yeah, but
the whole thing is in his mind. He wasn't sitting there seeing it. It was in his mind.
Fuck. But at least half the city apparently isn't even really there.
It's not there at all. He's in the Sublime.
Well, something's there.
Mm-mm.
Are the
just like the whole? They said they can make it whatever they want. They're
in the
like
Sublime, yeah.
They're watching the news tonight on Sublime News at 7. And they're seeing the humans are going crazy and they're killing each other and everything's on fire. Here's a picture. They're showing video in the Sublime of what's happening in the real world.
Oh, fuck. We got one episode to figure this shit out. And there's probably going to be some kind of cliffhanger.
He's not looking out a window at the real world.
Well, I'm saying the real world isn't the real world.
At all.
Maybe not.
So it's Sublime is within another...
Or like...
parameta.
There must be like the Sublime and then like...
But there's real humans. With flies inside them.
At some point, the humans have to be real. But they're like...
They're transcending?
There's like a projection. Like, let's say, okay, so like, let's say the real world is going through a purge. It's like the Matrix, right? Except instead of Dolores being plugged into a thing with like pokies in her, like she's just got like VR goggles on, or not even VR goggles. So like Dolores is in the Sublime. Okay. And she thinks she's Christina. She's a construct, but she's a virtual construct. She doesn't even have a real body. So, oh fuck. Okay. So she's in the Sublime. And in the Sublime is like a virtual reality version where you can project yourself into the real world and see what's happening.
But she has a roommate. Yeah. And she went on a date with a blind date with a guy that tried to kill or rape her or whatever.
No. That was two different things.
Oh, okay.
One guy tried to kill her. Another guy was a douchebag. He told her to take lots of drugs to make herself feel better. I don't know. I'm just trying. There's something there that we're missing that will make it all make sense.
Yeah. We'll be like, duh.
I hope they tell us what it is and don't just leave us waiting another year or two to find the final answers.
Well, we'll see.
We'll see. And we'll be back in about a week to finish this shit up.
Yup.
So there we go. Until next time, I'm just going to go cry virtual tears and try to get my head straight.
Okay. And I'm Jennifer.
Bye.